In the last few weeks, there's been some rumblings about Nintendo possibly stepping back into VR. And I actually do believe that this is something that might actually happen for their next console, the Switch 2. And when I think back to when, basically VR was just something that no one could afford, Nintendo was the one that I would have thought would have really been the first people to do it. Nintendo have always been one of those companies that have tried to push something new and advanced to see where gamers are going to be and what they're going to be enjoying. Sega had a dabble in VR, and there was like the 3D glasses.
A little bit over the glasses, head dance. Oh, there you go. It is. It is the VR headset.
And then they did Virtual Boy. And Virtual Boy had its own run of software that I still actually enjoy on my Quest now.
Virtual Boy, see it now.
And then with the Nintendo 3DS, it actually had AR capabilities, which every time I talk to people about this, they don't seem to know anything about it. Basically, in the box, you had cards which had QR codes on them. And I just remember the first time I put one of these QR codes down on my table and a volcano appeared at the table. And then a couple of weeks later, my son had his friends round and he took some photos of their faces and their heads turned into like little propellers flying around the house. And he was running around. It was like a shoot 'em up in AR, and it was really cool. And obviously out of the big three, PlayStation are the ones that are fully committed really to virtual reality. And I know some of you are thinking like, where's the software to back that up? But I'm sure good things are going to come. And if you look back at PlayStation as well, these companies show a sign of trying new things, you know, such as the iToy, the PlayStation Move controllers would actually end up being used for the PSVR. So I do believe with the recent rumblings that I've seen online that something may actually happen. And I just wanted to discuss that today. But most of this speculation normally comes from hardware manufacturers, and that's where this one has also gained some legs. So recently a tweet emerged stating that Nintendo already has a prototype of VR glasses in testing. This is for Nintendo Switch 2, it's mixed reality, it's for home use and other theme parks, and features micro LED displays. Surprisingly, Google is involved in the development in some way. And then there was another tweet basically stating that Google has acquired Raxim, an innovator of single-panel micro-LED display technologies. The team at Raxim has spent 5 years creating miniaturized, cost-effective, energy-efficient, high-resolution displays that have laid the foundation for future display technologies. The failure of Stadia, and it was a failure because I actually invested, rethinks the incursion into the video game sector, and they position themselves as a technology licenser, collaborating with Samsung and Qualcomm on mixed reality platforms. Now, arguably, after Nintendo Labo, I do see how some people won't take any of this seriously because, to be fair, that was actually quite a bad virtual reality experience. I mean, at the end of the day, you had to hold the controllers next to your face to do anything in Labo, but that was their attempt at doing something very cost-effective and for a younger audience. But a lot of these companies sit back and they wait to see what VR is doing. PSVR 2 is now out, and I think actually has a really good library already, even though, obviously, like I said earlier, we're still waiting for some big hitters. And if you look at the amount of Quest 2s that have been sold, and this number is quite old now, it actually outsold some of their own systems. It come very close to GameCube, it outsold the Wii U, and it outsold the PlayStation Vita, which is one of my favourite systems of all time, along with Dreamcast. It's not hard to see that companies do know that virtual reality is something that people are interested in and people buy and they're curious about. And I think if you combine that with Nintendo IPs, which pretty much sell a console all on their own, I do think that Nintendo will be making another comeback, but this time it could be something a lot more serious than Nintendo Labo. We also know that Quest 3 is going to be not only a VR device, there's a heavy emphasis on mixed reality. And the reason I think a lot of companies are now looking more for mixed reality is because VR is a very claustrophobic experience. A lot of us like it because it's an escapism, you know, you're purely locked into a whole other universe inside a game. But for some people, they find it a bit all too much. You know, at the end of the day, if you can play a game and still see your family all around you, and the game could be in front of you, for example, like Demio in mixed reality, I do think that breaks down a wall of entry. And then obviously you've got to fight with cost. And there's also recent rumblings of a Quest 3 that's going to be under $200, which I honestly can't see that being the right price. But at the end of the day, they know that cost is a big barrier. So a lot of us who are hardcore into VR are going to be grabbing the Quest 3 when it launches. But still, to know there's a cheaper version coming out in the future, it's a pretty exciting time for VR. Now, lastly, I would love Xbox to get involved. They've also got some great IPs. They've obviously touched on mixed reality with the HoloLens, and I did do some HoloLens mixed reality experiences via the Quest back in the day using hand tracking. They were really cool. Honestly, all these companies have basically rolled the dice in VR, and I don't think it's going to stop. At the end of the day, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this, and I'm letting you know my thoughts that I think more is going to come. I think VR is only going to grow. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.